Hello, my name is Sarah Houseman.
Hello, my name is Shenique.
And I'm Dillon Shelburne, and we're analyzing Song, Go Catch a Falling Star.
In this particular poem, Donne sets up the argument that it's truly impossible to find both a fair and true woman in an evil world through the use of diction, syntax, and juxtaposition.
Donne uses diction to say that, to compare a falling star to Lucifer as a fallen angel. This is important because an angel is associated with positivity and innocence. However, we associate Lucifer with evil and darkness, thus showing how even everybody has a dark side. Donne also uses get with child a mandrake root because a mandrake root is poisonous and children are associated with innocence, which shows that he shows that women lose their innocence as far as their personality wise. The next thing he uses diction for is when he says, "Who cleft the devil's foot?" And this is a reference to dual personality of woman, because again, just referring back to Lucifer a second time, that everybody has innocence and evil within them. However, women can act on both when they need to use one or the other. He also uses keep off envy's stinging, and this is a personification which describes the impossible to finding a fair woman, because envy cannot sting, obviously. All of these aspects of diction are important to this poem because they all refer back to women's personality as multiples, and shows how they lose their innocence over time.
So he also uses syntax to get this point across as well, as he finds that it's quite impossible to find a fair and true woman. For instance, in the first stanza, he switches almost from good to bad in a way for each line. So, for instance, go and catch a falling star. We associate that with goodness because if you catch a falling star, then that means you can make a wish. But he switches to get with a child and mandrake root, which mandrake root, like we said, is poisonous. So you're poisoning child, which is innocent. So that association is bad. So by using good, bad, and switching between the two repetitively, he alludes to women's temperament, which often sometimes seems to be very mercurial and change over time, and it's not very constant. Also, the first stanza, he uses numerous line breaks, like he uses comma, and there aren't really any ands to tie together the sentences, which is the ascendant, and it's just giving you like a list of the impossible, and by describing that impossible, that kind of sets up his argument for if these things are impossible, then it's truly impossible to find a fair and true woman. Also, in the second stanza, he kind of, even in the structure of the rhyme schemes, he uses A, B. So again, you see that duality throughout the whole poem, where he's describing, you think somebody is this way, but they really turn out to be, inside of themselves, somebody totally different than what you've expected. So it kind of brings a type of irony into the poem. Also, in the third stanza, or actually throughout all three stanzas, he tends to separate two lines by themselves consisting of two words. So for the first one, and find what wind. So it almost draws your attention to those particular lines, which sets up, okay, well, that last sentence of that stanza is very important, such as, and find what wine serves to advance an honest mind. So what makes this mind tick? What is the influence for making that mind honest? And does that function actually work? Which he proves it doesn't, because he says it's impossible. Also, for the second stanza, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. So those two, the ends of both stanzas, they're like his summary within a summary of each poem, showing you how there really isn't, and it's really impossible to find somebody who's honest and fair and true.
And like Shenique stated earlier, there's a lot of juxtaposition, just like with a lot of the line breaks being in the pattern of good, bad. You know, there's a lot of contradictory statements, and one of the best examples is in the second stanza at the very beginning. It says, "If thou best born to strange sights, things invisible to see," and it puts strange sights and invisible to see in the same sort of a pair, and you can't see something if it's invisible. And so that's a good example of juxtaposition, and just the general concept of actually finding a true woman, but yet it's impossible, is juxtaposition within itself. And overall, the use of syntax and diction and juxtaposition all end up tying back into the point that Donne's trying to make with that finding a true and fair woman is actually impossible.